Hi, Taurus. Welcome to your November 2020 Astro Transit forecast. It's Rena here, and the big news in November is that we have a couple of personal planets going direct, and we have a lunar eclipse in Gemini. So that is very interesting. So let's start at the beginning. So the sun is in Scorpio for the first few weeks in the month. Scorpio is your opposite sign. I am wondering how many of you have Scorpio people who are important people in your life, and how do you relate to Scorpio? Yeah, just in general. How do you relate to Scorpios? Do you tend to get along with them, or do you have problems with them? Scorpio is your opposite sign, so oppositions are considered challenging aspects, but with relationships, I think that is kind of nullified because the water element is compatible for Earth, and you're both feminine signs, so you may get along famously with Scorpio. You're both fixed signs, so that might be very interesting. But this is your seventh house, and your seventh house is the house of committed partnership. Now, in the universal chart, which determines all of these rulerships and the influences that they represent, this is Libra's house, the house of committed partnership, including marriage, but also any one-on-one relationship, including relationships you have with clients. This can be legal matters. This can be your open, they call it open enemies, which means that the people in your life that you know are your enemies. There are some people, and enemies might be a little bit of a, it might be a little bit of an exaggeration because it doesn't mean that they are just destroying your life. But for instance, if you have Mars in your natal chart in the seventh house, maybe you have that this is kind of like the story of your life where you're always battling against other people who are trying to bring you down. I don't know. That's kind of like another reading for another day. But in any case, when you have the sun in this house, and you also have Mercury going back into this house. I'll get to that in a second. But this is the house that is ruled by Libra in the universal chart, so it represents relationships, and Libra is ruled by Venus, just like you are. So the idea of love and harmony are Venusian concepts. And this is where the sun is at. And the sun itself is a very positive, by the word positive, I'm not just saying good versus bad, but like a very life-affirming influence. So even if you have a significant other, relationship with a significant other that's been kind of on the rocks, this might be a time when things are a little bit better. When the sun is in this house, it's injecting positive vibes into this part of your life. And so Mercury goes direct on the 3rd at 25 degrees of Libra. And for you, Libra is actually the 6th house of health, work, your daily schedule, how you organize your life, how you are productive in life, basically. So Mercury went retrograde back in October. I'm acting like it's in the past, but actually, as I record this, it's in the future. In mid-October, in this area, the 7th house in Scorpio. And so sometimes that can be some kind of a legal matter that is connected to your workplace because it goes back into 6th house. So an example would be if you have filed a lawsuit against a business, against your business, and the lawsuit is, maybe it's not an official lawsuit. Maybe you filed it with your company, but it's a legal matter. And then, it goes back into the sixth house, which means that it has to be reviewed, or you're reviewing even staying there, because, sometimes we get caught up in some kind of retribution that we may be entitled to, file or receive fairness over. And then the more that we think about it, the more we realize that even if we win, we lose, because we'll have to go back into that environment, and it's going to be even worse than what we were dealing with. So if you felt like you found out somebody else's salary is higher than yours and you're doing the same work, and you just really lost it. And I could see a Taurus person seeing red when it comes to money. If somebody's getting more than you and you're doing the same work and you know that you've been doing a good job, a Taurus person, that would be the one battle that you would undertake, because when it comes to money, because you rule the house of earned income. So you rule the house of possessions. Money is something that you respect. And a lot of people can talk smack about Taurus and say this and that. Oh, they're materialistic. But something, there are two sides to that story. Yes, being overly materialistic is, I think that it's misguided, because I believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We can't take it with us and all that stuff, but we are here, and it is part of our existence. It's a big part of our existence, even when we try to avoid it. Some people think that it's not spiritual, so they want to stay away from money, but it still involves all of us to one degree or another. So you may feel like it's not fair and you want what's rightfully yours, but in that process, you may find out that, oops, I'm creating these open enemies. I'm activating them. Maybe you're not creating them, but you're activating them. Because you know what? You may have every right to do what you're doing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm just saying that you may be rethinking your place of employment altogether, because you are seeing the bigger picture eventually. And then on the 10th, Mercury goes back into that seventh house. And so, a week later, after Mercury goes direct, it goes back into that seventh house. So some resolution in that week's time. And a few days after that, Mars stations direct on the 13th at 15 degrees of Aries. For you, this is your 12th house. And I've told you that I have Mars. I've told you that I have, or no, did I? Maybe you don't realize this, but I have done this. You wouldn't know this, but I have started this reading several times. And I was mentioning that I'm a late degree Taurus rising. And so for me, this is in my 12th house. For many of, as a rising sign. And okay, this is the time where I should say this is for sun or rising. But some of these transits are not going to neatly go along with the dates that I'm giving you because of the degree of sun or rising Taurus that you have. However, for me personally, this is going to hit my, this is my 12th house. And so I know full well what this has been like to have Mars in the 12th house. And I know what it was like to have the full moon in Aries in the 12th house. How did you guys fare? who had it in your 12th house. That full moon that we had on October 1st. It was a little bit crazy for me. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit intense. I'm not going to lie. And the Mars direct, I think it's going to be a relief, because I think that Mars in the 12th house isn't very easy to deal with. You feel like a caged animal is really what it is. Mars wants to take action. And when Mars is retrograde in general, its hands are tied. But in the 12th house, that's a double hands are tied type of energy, because this is the hermit house, and the hermit does not, bounce off the walls. And that's what Mars kind of does sometimes. The hermit's supposed to sit still. And it's very interesting because, just because I'm an astrologer doesn't mean I'm constantly thinking about my chart and where the transits are. I would never do that, because I'm not this robot that is just directed by this outer force. And, but recently, I actually went out into the forest preserve, and I found myself wanting to do yoga and wanting to stretch. And it's really interesting, because that's what I always recommend when people have Mars in the 12th house, because sitting meditation, the whole idea of sitting meditation is being able to sit in one place and not fidget, and being able to, be one-pointed and things like that. And Hatha Yoga was developed in order to do just that. And Hatha Yoga is where you do the different positions or asanas. And I forgot what, it was one of those, like, I think it's called the cat's pose or something. But I just felt like doing it one day, and I did it. And then it got cold, and so I just kind of, I didn't do it the next day. But this is the perfect type of activity when Mars remains in your 12th house. When Mars goes into Taurus, and I don't know exactly when that is because I'm just dealing with this month, then you should feel much more energized, Taurus, because it will have left your 12th house. And then it's in your first house, and it's the house of the self, the body, and you're going to feel this kind of forward momentum much more so. Because Mars was retrograding, it kind of like lagged behind the sun. And, I'm saying lag behind the sun. Boy, that's an understatement. I mean, gosh, the sun is in Scorpio. What am I talking about here? It really is far behind. But at least for you to have it be in your sign will feel a sense of alignment and a shot in the arm, so to speak. So Mars stations direct on the 13th. The new moon 2 days later on the 15th. So this is very energetic, because we have Mars going direct. Mercury has already gone direct and has gone back into the sign where it retrograded. And we have a new moon all within a 5-day span of all of that. We could actually extend it a 2-week period. And it's at 23 degrees of Scorpio. So new beginnings relating to legal matters. For half of you, this is going to actually be, people who, most of you, this is going to be, I shouldn't say half of you. For most of you, this is going to be in that 7th house, a committed partnership. For a later degree, Taurians, this will be in the 6th house of health. But, I'm actually thinking in my own chart, and even though I'm a later degree, this really is cutting it close. So with the unequal house system, I had decided that I'm going to stop, talking about different degrees because it's confusing and it's really not accurate. Because I was looking at my own chart and I was saying, this doesn't always fall into place in that way. It would be much more accurate for the solar chart with equal house system kind of delineation. So I'm going to just say, for everybody, it's in the 7th house. And, this can be a new day in relationships. Maybe you've had a little bit of struggle with your partner. Perhaps you had a disagreement, a misunderstanding with Mercury retrograding there. If it's a lawsuit or a legal matter, anything that has to contract, has to come to some understanding or put on paper, this can be the time when it really will take because you have Mercury direct and this new moon here. Maybe this was a disagreement about commitment and you wanting to make it legal. It may, two people living together, one person says it's the same thing as being married, and the other, and you, I think it would be you, the one that would put your foot down and said, no, I need that piece of paper. I need that ring. I want that dress. I want that ring. I want that contract. And because Taurus likes tangible things. And maybe that other person gave in. And you're setting a wedding date. Who knows? On the 21st, Venus goes into that house. Boy, would that be a great time to get married. In the last week of November. And so Venus is about harmony, romance, beauty. The 7th, money. Can't forget money. 7th house, maybe getting that money from a lawsuit. Who knows? On the same day, the sun goes into Sagittarius. For Taurus, this is the 8th house, and this is a money house. This is the opposite house of Taurus. This is shared resources. So, focus on shared resources. So anything where it's like not my money, but our money. This is a deeper area. This is metaphysics. So you might be delving into this, Taurus. On the 28th, Neptune turns direct. This is one of those generational plants that I was talking about at 22 degrees of Pisces. So Pisces, where is that in Taurus's chart? It's in the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of hopes and wishes. Interesting that it turns direct at 22 degrees. 22 is a master number. And, you're not supposed to reduce master numbers, but you can look at it as, you can reduce it to see what it represents. And it's a master builder number because it's a higher version of number 4. And the number 4 is a number of foundation, a number of Saturn, which is this is a 4 universal year. So the fact that Neptune goes direct at 22 degrees of Pisces, to me is a hopeful sign because when Neptune went retrograde, I believe it was in late June. A Neptune retrograde can be a time when the curtain is pulled and you see something for what it really is. It kind of can be a disillusioning, a sense of disillusionment about something in life. In this case, for the 11th house, it can be about your dreams. And I mean, not when you go night-night, Betty bye, but your hopes and wishes. This is what the 11th house can represent. Now, the 11th house can also be your friendships, and in some cases, if you have felt that friends have let you down, that you're not on the same page with them and you thought that you were just this cohesive unit, or maybe at one time you actually were and things have changed, then some event may have occurred that made you question that. And as for other people who have some kind of dream, goal, long range goal, that can be this house. It can create a sense of, gee, is this really going to happen for me? Am I just like living in La La Land if I believe that this is going to happen? So now that Neptune turns direct on the 28th, it gives you more idealism and less disillusionment. So it will remain in this house for several more years. It can also mean when Neptune is in the 11th house that you meet people that have a spiritual bent and or join groups with such people. And then on the 30th, we have a lunar eclipse at 8 degrees of Gemini, and this is going to be in the house that you rule, the second house of earned income. So a lunar eclipse, I mean, this could be like, I see it, and now maybe because I have this myself, maybe I just want to see it. Actually, for me, it's going to be my first house, so that's an example of how it differs. But but I will have this next month. See, I mean, when there's a full moon in the second house, I'll have this. It won't be a lunar eclipse, but at least it'll be a full moon. I think with the lunar eclipse, it's even more pronounced, what I'm about to say, which is that if you have felt that your finances have been held up somehow, and, in general, this has been true for the collective, I think, but personally, this may be this feeling of, I was going to say your ship coming in, if you remember that expression, where everything seems to be aligned financially, and it's like kind of what everything that's been held back, then it comes in. Something like that. If you're retiring, you're making a great shift in the way that you earn money, then this could be that great shift. So something very different that is, changing for you when it comes to your finances. These areas, the second and the eighth houses where Gemini and Sagittarius reside, are going to be hit by these eclipses in the next year. So you're going to see change in both of these areas. The money that you earn and shared resources, or money that you get that you don't earn. So that could be some kind of boost to your finances at the end of November. So anyway, Taurus, I hope that you resonated with this. And if you'd like a personal reading, the link is below so you can find out more about the type of readings I offer. Take care. Bye.